I think we're live.
You think?
Doesn't
we
show
are.
up on YouTube yet. There we go.
We are live.
You might get the notification like 15 minutes into the stream, so
I just got it.
Right.
I just got it.
So it came in like normal.
awesome. What's up, Wicked? What's up, Fluffy?
Hi everyone.
Hello.
How's it going?
Cubs. Battery Can, what's up, brother? Make sure you guys are sharing this out.
Yeah.
Everybody say hello to Josh.
Justin.
Justin.
He knows gonna do
He's gonna call you every J name there is before this is over.
James and Jake and Jack and everything else.
Yeah.
Jack and Jill.
Wow.
I'm used to it. I've been called every J name my entire life, so
That's why he calls us brats, because he can't remember our name.
Oh, I remember you're brats. You're the brat Twinkies.
I'm in a whole category by myself.
Good.
Hey. Good.
We'll wait till a few more people get in here and get started.
Smash a like and share it out, guys.
Yes.
Click
And
it.
tomorrow there
There
will be a premiere.
oh, tapioca.
I love tapioca. It's my favorite.
We used to
really like
we used to eat it all the time when we were kids. And one time we went to Houston to visit my grandparents, and my sister wanted to make some tapioca pudding.
What's up, DJ?
So she made it, and we started eating it, and it was like super sweet. I mean, just overly sweet. And my grandma says to her, "What the heck? What'd you do to this?" And she said, "Well, you didn't have any white sugar, so I just used powdered sugar."
Oh no.
Well, she used the same amount. And
oh no.
it was so sweet that I ended up getting really sick from it.
Oh, I can imagine.
And tapioca pudding is not, it's not fun to taste coming back up.
I would say not with the little snot balls in it.
I have not eaten tapioca pudding since probably 1996.
Oh wow. I wouldn't touch it because it had the little, rolled up boogers in it. So. And then I tried it one day. I was like, "Oh, I like it." So here we go.
We used to eat it all the time. I mean, and growing up, we always had. My mom would make chocolate pudding, but it was the kind that you cooked on the stove. And I don't know if anybody's ever eaten chocolate pudding that you cook on the stove, but it always gets these little chunkies in it, and that's like the best. And tapioca pudding the same way,
No, see, the tapioca is supposed to have the little balls in it.
Well, I know,
if it's not supposed to have it, I'll freak out. I have a texture issue.
If they don't have it, it's vanilla pudding.
It's even more so than that, though. It's like, that little bit that cooks to the bottom of the pan,
like a fried tater.
Love you, Rebecca.
It's weird. I know it's weird, but and we always used to eat it. It was always best. The chocolate pudding she would make, it was always best when it was done and it was still hot. That's when we would eat it.
Yeah.
Well, to each their own, I suppose.
Yeah.
What's up, Uncle B?
Don't want no hot pudding.
Yeah, I haven't eaten that. I haven't eaten that in a long time. I just remember that as a kid.
Hot pudding? Why?
So, Rob, are you going to reintroduce your guest?
Yeah.
With the correct name?
Everyone, this is past preservation, Justin.
There you go.
Yay.
Great. You did good.
What's up, John? So Justin, you want to explain to everybody about your channel and what you do?
Yeah. Well, like I was telling you guys before we went live, back in 2019, I kind of started on this journey of visiting all my ancestral graves here in town, and I went and was talking to my grandpa and talked about my third great grandfather that came to Michigan from New York, and he says, well, he's just buried right over in Midland City Cemetery. So I went over there and I found his gravestone, and it was just terrible. You know, it was covered in mold and mildew and had a bunch of lichen and stuff growing on it. And so I had a friend that kind of had done some cemetery restoration work in the past, and he said, why don't you look into whatever you got to do to clean it up and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that, And then I started finding all kinds of other ancestors in the cemetery, and they were all kind of the same thing, So I did some research, searched YouTube for a lot of how to do it videos, how-to videos, I should say, and there was a few out there from like the national, the NCPTT. There was some out. They were a lot older though, and nothing was really in depth. It kind of felt like it was this secret that everybody was trying to keep. So after I did some research and found some other people that kind of knew what they were doing, and I did a lot of trial and error actually. I kind of got it nailed down. I went to a class and learned a little bit more. I went to another class and learned a little bit more, and now I'm just sharing that knowledge for the other everyday average people that want to do something but don't want to cause harm or do damage to their great grandfather or grandmother's headstone, because those are historic. They're what I call a historic monument, and once it's gone, you'll never get it back. So just kind of putting everything I do out there to show people that it can be done. There's safe ways to do it, and that there are also bad ways to do it. So that's pretty much it.
So what do you do what kind of chemicals do you use to clean them with?
So it really depends on the nature of what the stone has going on, because every stone is different. You may come across two stones that are very similar, but every stone has its own thing going on. So sometimes you can do an initial cleaning with just water on a brush, and then treat it with I treat with D2 biological solution, which is it's a quaternary ammonium compound that kills biological growth. So that will soak into the stone, because stones are like sponges. And so I have a weight chart in my trailer for how to calculate how heavy a stone is. And it'll tell you that if it's rained within the past 3 days, to add an extra 200 pounds. So, stone will soak up a lot of water, and you can do a simple test. You can go pick up a stone off of a beach, put it on a scale and weigh it, and then 3 weeks later, put it back on the scale, and it's lighter, a lot lighter for its size, So that D2 biological solution will soak into the stone, and it will kill all the biological growth that's gotten into those pores, because things like lichen and moss have roots, and even mold and mildew have little roots that grow into the stone, and that will kill that, and then the rain will remove it from the stone once it's dead. Or you can brush, but So, that's just a basic, that's the absolute most basic cleaning that I do. Pretty much everything gets treated with D2. If it's got a lot of, sometimes you'll have a white marble stone that will have fallen over and be laying on the dirt. It'll get a lot of dirt staining in it. And usually I'll treat that with D2 to kill all the biological growth, and then I'll clean it with what's called Orvis soap or Orvis paste. And that's a mild detergent, and it helps to remove a lot of that soiling that's not biological. So, but other than that, that's pretty much all I use. Pine sap, rubbing alcohol to get pine sap out of their blue jeans or out of their shirt or whatever. Same thing on a headstone. You can use rubbing alcohol. It evaporates and it leaves water. So nothing, it doesn't leave any harmful residue. It's not harmful to the stone. So that's something else that I use. But other than that, just Orvis soap, D2, and the occasional rubbing alcohol.
So do you just clean your ancestors' headstones, or you do everybody else's?
So I've made it a life mission to clean as many ancestors as I can. But I do get hired by people from all around to go and do work. The local cemeteries here, I do a lot of veteran headstone cleaning. In fact, just today I was emailing the city of Saginaw, where I'm going to go and do a restoration project on the soldier section of their cemetery. I got a couple short videos on my channel of a tree that broke off in a windstorm last year, and it broke off, and when it fell, it missed all the headstones, but it completely bent over the flagpole.
Oh wow.
And it's just all the veteran headstones, the majority of them are the what they call Civil War type white marble with the rounded top, 4 inches thick. A lot of them are sinking. A lot of them are, well, almost all of them are dirty. I mean, can't even read them, dirty. Some of them have graffiti on them, black spray paint. There's one broken one. There's some flat markers that are sinking into the ground, almost can't be seen. So I think I've got probably about 5 days with a couple other helpers of work to be done there. Edging around the flat markers, raising the ones that need to be raised. Got about probably 3 days just in cleaning and raising the tall white ones that need to be brought up to where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be 24 inches out of the ground, 18 inches in the ground. So that's kind of a little bit of what I do. I try to, I never, when I have people call me and hire me to do cleaning or repairs, I never charge a dime for veterans. Because awesome. It's my belief that those people and their families paid enough already. And that's my way to pay them back for what they did,
That's amazing. That's very amazing.
In fact, I even had a lady that said, "Well, you're not going to charge me, so I'll give you a donation." And I said, "I won't take it. you're gonna have to glue the money to my hand because I won't take it."
Right.
And she said, "Okay, well, that's fine." So
I just can't believe some people would spray paint a monument or a headstone.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, I've got short videos on my channel. If you're interested in it, go check it out. There's like one has a $sign spray painted to the back of it. Like what's the point of that even, you know? So yeah, that's going to be an interesting job to get the spray paint off there. It looks like it's been on there for a few years. It was kind of unfortunate that this cemetery they don't do too many burials in it anymore. It doesn't get a whole lot of traffic other than people that are doing things they shouldn't be doing, you know.
Right.
There's a Grand Army of the Republic marker, a huge statue. It's probably 18 feet tall, 20 feet tall. It's got a guy with a rifle standing on top of it, and it's a enormous granite monument, and it's missing all the bronze plaques. Somebody went in there and stole them. Probably melted them down and sold them at the scrapyard. So I'm gonna try to connect with a bronze manufacturer to get something to put back on there, because I think it needs to be done. You know, I tried to find an older photo of that monument to see what was there, and there's nothing that exists that will tell you what exactly was on there. So I don't know what I'm gonna have made for it if I can find somebody that'll do it, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Anybody in the panel got questions for him?
Yeah, you were saying something about the spray paint. My uncle's headstone, my uncle and my nephew, their headstone was spray painted, and the fire department came out and used the hose and stuff on it, and all that. It kind of damaged it a little bit, but there's still, you can still see where the spray paint kind of was and what it said, you know, on it.
Right.
Is there anything specific that can be used to get rid of that, or are you just trying to figure that out yourself?
Well, so there's two different companies in the United States that make a decent graffiti remover. Mm-hmm. One of them is the stuff is called elephant snot. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's pretty expensive. It's like $40 for a quart or something like that. $40 or $50 for a quart. But a quart will do like 12 square feet. So it's that's one option. And then there's another company called World's Best Graffiti Remover. And they claim to, when I emailed them, they said that if I needed something to remove the shadowing from the paint, that they've got some, it's called Shadow Max, and it removes the shadowing, which is what you have going on with your headstone. The paint's been removed, but there's still a shadowing effect.
Right.
So I don't really know what I'm going to go with yet. I'm leaning towards the elephant snot because I know people that have used that, and I know that it's effective. But I know people that have used it and had the shadowing effect afterwards, and had to buy something else to get rid of the shadowing effect. So
okay.
But yeah, world's best graffiti remover, probably the Shadow Max or anything that says it'll remove graffiti shadowing would be something you could use on that.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So what's the most messed up, like busted up headstone that you've had to repair?
I did. In fact, I'm still working on it. There was one that was busted up into 5 pieces. At some point prior to now, somebody went and drilled a bunch of holes in it and put metal banding up the back and tried to bolt through and filled all the cracks with caulk and made it a real mess. And I'm sure it probably stood upright for a little while. But when we found it 2 years ago, it was laying on its back with all the banding attached to it still. I ended up having to take a hacksaw over there and cut the banding off, and then flip everything over all together and take all the bolts out. And it was a mess. But that was, in fact, hang on. So, in 2020, we had the dams that broke, and flooded out Sanford. And
yeah, remember
after that all happened, there was a bunch of people that volunteered to help fix stuff everywhere. I mean, I went and put subflooring in people's houses and I all kinds of stuff, you know. And then right before the flood, actually, I noticed that the cemetery was pretty run down and in disrepair. And I started talking to people, and they said they've been trying to get things fixed in there for like 5 years, and nobody would let them do anything. And well, I'm the kind of person that you tell me I can't do something, I'm just going to keep pushing until I can do it, you know? So, this was in the Sanford Cemetery, and last year they put this calendar together, and it's called Men of Sanford, and they featured me in it. And there's that headstone.
Wow.
You know, so it was pretty nasty, and it was a tough job, but that's probably my proudest accomplishment so far. And in fact, in this picture, I haven't done any of the infill on it yet, but I've got the infill started on it, and when the weather finally warms up, I'll go and finish it. And then I've got some little bit of touch-up re-engraving to do to connect letters across the breaks and stuff, you know. So, but that'll be all done here, hopefully in the next 3 weeks or so, if we get some
awesome.
warm weather. Yeah,
we get some more warmer weather. Mother Nature's
right.
messing with us.
Oh,
Anybody
man.
in chat have any questions?
And I mean, we could have done without the rain today. You know?
Yeah.
And yesterday.
What's the furthest place that you have traveled to fix a headstone, or do you just stay in the general area?
Well, so let's see, for repair or for just any work?
For just any for the headstones and stuff, just any.
So I had a lady contact me, I think it was over the winter of 2020, and she asked me if I could go up and do some cleaning on a family cemetery that she owns. Well, actually, she doesn't technically own it, but she is the oldest living descendant of the people that owned it. So technically, it's her cemetery, but she doesn't physically hold the deed to it. But I went and did some work there. That was up in Clare. That was probably, it's about a 40-minute drive from here. But she called me last year and asked me if I could go to Leslie, Michigan, which is like 2.5-hour drive from where I'm at. It's by Coldwater. And I said, well, you know, it just so happens that I'm going to Union City for a class. So when I go down there for the class, I'll just swing in through Leslie, which was 20 minutes out of the way. And I cleaned a whole plot for her there. So,
oh, wow. That's awesome.
Other than that, I try to keep it within 100 miles, unless somebody has like something that's a bigger project, you know. If I'm going to go if I'm going to drive 150 miles, I need to be making, $250 on the job alone. Just and probably more now since the gas prices are so high. But
yeah,
and that's the thing too is a lot of people that I know that do this type of work charge a lot more than I do. And that's something that I try to keep it affordable, because I've had people call me, and actually one of the first ladies that ever, the local newspaper did a press release when I first started, and I got tons of phone calls, but one of the first ladies that called me asked me, how much I would charge to clean a single gravestone. And she said, and I told her, I said, well, I'll charge you $50 to do a single gravestone. And it takes about 3 weeks and 2 trips for it to really, depending on how bad it is, 3 weeks, it could sometimes take 4 months, 6 months, But I told her, it'd be $50. She says, oh, well, how much would you charge for a bigger stone that has like a base and it's a 2 plot, it's for 2 people, 2 graves. And I said, oh, okay. Well, if it's got a base piece and it's a 2 plot stone, it's not a slant cut, I charge $150 to do those because it's a lot bigger. It takes a lot more time. And typically those ones have a lot of extra embellishment on them, and they're you have a lot of fine detail to brush out and stuff. She says, oh, why so expensive? I said, well, you could call somebody else that will travel to this area, because I'm the only one in this area that does it, advertises it. There's one other person that I know of that does it in this area, and they don't advertise that they do it. So I said, you could call somebody else, but they're going to charge you a lot more. Oh, well, yeah. I'll just do it myself. Okay, that's fine. I'll even tell you how to do it. I really don't care. So I'm not in it for money, but I can't be digging in my own pockets all the time to do it too, so
right.
People will call me up and ask me how much I'd charge them to do something, and they can't afford it, and sometimes I'll make them a deal. Sometimes I'll just tell them, hey, this is what you need to do. I would much rather, if somebody says I'll just do it myself, I'd much rather tell them the proper way to do it,
right,
than have them go out there with bleach, baking soda and vinegar, ammonia, shaving cream. It's amazing. It's amazing the thing, scrubbing bubbles people will use. I had a lady call me one time, and she's an older lady, and she said, my husband is buried up north of town. He died in 1995, and she said, every year I go up twice a year and clean his stone, and the last 2 years I have not been able to get it clean. And I said, okay, what do you normally clean it with? And she said, well, the first couple of years I cleaned it with just dish soap and water. And I said, okay, well, that's not terrible, She said, but then I wasn't able to get certain parts of it clean, so I would use something like 409 or Windex or something like that, and that seemed to work pretty good. And then I couldn't get it clean again. It started to not get clean. I couldn't get the black stuff off of it. So she said, then I started using like a foaming bathroom cleaner, like scrubbing bubbles or something. And I said, oh, geez, okay. I said, well, I will tell you this. I said, I'll charge you X amount of dollars to do it. I said, but I cannot guarantee that I'll get it clean. She says, well, what do you mean? And I says, you have etched that stone with acidic cleaners, and you've basically opened that stone up to drive that that stuff in deeper. I said, it's possible that I'll get it clean, but I don't know what the stone is going to look like once all that stuff is removed. It could have, spray marks and streaking and etching from whatever you sprayed on it. And it did. They had, when I got there, the whole front was covered with black mold. And black mold can be very difficult to remove from stone. But the backside was very clean, which the backside faced south, the sun side, and that's typically the cleanest side. But it had two spots where it was like round dots and then drip lines down, where she had gone back there and sprayed something and forgotten to wipe it off.
Oh.
And to this day, it still has those two drip marks, because it's etched. It's whatever she sprayed on there was acidic in nature and etched that stone, and it'll never go away. And people do that to, luckily it was granite. But if you did that to a marble stone, there's no telling what it would do.
Fluffy has a question, Justin. He said, do you polish the bronze headstones?
So, yeah, I do. That's another thing too, is it really depends on the condition that the bronze stones or the bronze plaques are in. I did I did two here in Midland, for a lady. She said her husband died years ago in the late 90s, and she said it just looks really hazy, like it's got all this white stuff, gray stuff all over it, and it just looks like garbage. And I said, okay, that's failed clear coat. The bronze plaque manufacturer will take a raw bronze that they've smelted down and cast. It's cast bronze, and they polish it all up really nice so that it's clean, and then they paint a background paint on it, or they'll stain it, and then they put a clear coat over it. And what I'm finding is that a lot of the bronze plaque manufacturers in the 90s used a very cheap clear coat, that the sun kind of makes it fade, and it starts to pop, and then it turns into like this white, it looks like a glazed donut kind of. So I went over and I looked at it and I said, okay, I think I know what to do with this. And I took a wire brush, one of those little fine toothbrush size wire brushes, and I wire brushed the whole plaque down, stainless steel wire brush. And once I got done with that, I wiped it down with mineral spirits on a rag and allowed that to dry. And then I put a UV resistant clear coat on it, and it looks amazing. It's fantastic.
Wow.
I did two plaques like that for her. She loved it. The one was very green when I got there. All the clear coat and all the stain had come out of it, and it started to oxidize. Got a green patina on it from the copper, and I ended up wire brushing that, and it looked really nice. So I just clear coated it, and that's one that possibly could have had a new coat of stain put on it, or been painted, a nice background paint put on it. But I opted not to do that, and she really liked it. Sometimes they need paint. Some of them are easier to paint. The standard 1970s veteran bronze plaques, usually you can put a nice Rust-Oleum leather brown paint on it. It looks really nice, and then clear coat over that a couple days later, and that holds up for a really long time. I see somebody says could you use Brasso on brass monuments. You could, Brasso is made for brass. The best thing to do is if you've got a really nice brass plaque that you want to keep nice, buy a thin wax. In fact, let's see. I think I've got some right here. Yeah. This is a guy out in Arizona makes this wax. And it's a paraffin wax, and it's got a mineral oil in it. It's mineral oil and paraffin wax is literally the ingredients on it. You can see that. And this will act as a sacrificial layer. So if you go out once a year and put this on, it will protect the bronze from sun, acid rain, things like that. And it's basically a sacrificial layer that if you get acid rain, it'll take this wax off, but it won't affect the bronze. So usually this, if you've got a plaque that's starting to look not so great, you throw some of this on there, looks great again. Sometimes you got to get a little more in depth though.
Do you recommend anybody using it, like any scrapers or chisels or anything to clean headstones? Because I've seen some people do that before.
No. I mean, unless you're knowledgeable and experienced, if you wanted to just go and clean a headstone, I don't like using scrapers. I know a lot of people that use plastic scrapers. I don't like it. I just use brushes, soft nylon bristle brush. Usually gets it done for me. Every once in a while I got to use, when I'm out walking around cemeteries, those flags that they stick in the flag holders for veterans. A lot of times there'll be just a stick standing up in them and the flag is blown off or whatever. I'll grab those and I put them in my kit. And if I need to pick out some letters or something that have some moss growing in them, I'll break one of those, and it always breaks to a point.
Right.
It's pine, and that works great for cleaning out letters. Sometimes a soft piece of wood like that will work really good for picking pine sap off. But I generally tell people that you don't have to you can use a plastic scraper, but you don't have to. I don't. You don't want to use anything, no metal wire brushes on stone. You don't want to use steel wool like the girl over in Connecticut or Massachusetts or whatever that went, and she was volunteer on Find a Grave, and she wanted to go out and photograph this whole cemetery. So she went out on every stone and rubbed steel wool across the letters so that so you could see them better. She took all the patina off that stone, and the patina on the stone is like the stone's skin.
Right.
Once you take the top layer of your skin off, it's open for infection and all kinds of other things. Same thing for a stone. You take that skin off that stone and you've opened that stone up for, more biological growth, more salt deposit from sprinkler systems. Sprinkler systems leave a lot of calcium and salt deposit from groundwater mostly, or if it's run through a water softener, if it's on a well system, it's run through a water softener, it leaves a lot of salt deposit on stuff.
Steel wool is good for stuffing mice holes.
Did he freeze? Oh, there he is.
Back?
Yeah,
You're back.
I've never had that happen before.
So I noticed that your son goes with you a lot. Is he learning the family business, or does he just enjoy going with his dad?
He loves doing it. And in fact, even more so my daughter. My daughter is she's the one that like last night we drove to Saginaw. We bought some new furniture, and we went to dinner, and it was getting kind of late, and my daughter really wanted to go to a cemetery. And I said, well, I guess we could stop, and I've got this cross that I need to fix. I said, we'll go pick that up, and I'll take it in the house and let it warm up, and then I'll do some repair work on it this weekend. And yeah, if I say I'm going to the cemetery and she doesn't get to go, she cries. Uh-huh. So
it's amazing that you're teaching them at a young age that it's nothing to be scared of and stuff.
Oh, there's nothing to be scared of cemetery. Yeah. I mean, right. You know, I think there's a lot of stigma around that. That really, I understand it, but I don't understand why it's grown to what it has. I find the cemetery to be a very peaceful place.
And most of them are, yes, I agree.
It's I mean, even we've got a cemetery near us on Dice Road. You probably have heard of it. The Dice Road Lutheran Cemetery. People swear up and down every time they go there. They see stuff and they have experiences and whatever. And I happened to be down that way. I was dropping off a brand new Civil War veteran marker to have some repair work done on it, because our government screwed it up. Imagine that. Yeah. So I swung in there. And I said, I'm gonna stop and see what this is all about. You know, I've had some experiences. You know, I've had I've woken up to people in my room, and I've been touched by things. You know, it's not foreign to me. So I wanted to see what this was all about. So I went there and I spent 3 hours there, and it was one of the most peaceful places I've ever been. But there's hundreds of accounts of people that go there, have terrible experiences, and have things follow them home and all kinds of other stuff. And I didn't experience any of that, none. So I think that the stories, you know, specifically, there's a story about a witch that supposedly haunts that cemetery because she was murdered in the woods or something like that. I don't know.
I've heard that story.
But I think that the stories get people's imaginations going too much, you know. And I go there. I've gone into cemeteries with a completely open mind. One thing I do every time I go to the cemetery, because I do believe that spirits are all around us all the time. You know, I know 2 people that have died and came back to life. Both of them described it exactly the same. One of them was my dad. And one of them was a close friend of mine. And both of them had experiences of being able to, first of all, my dad saw my great-grandfather who died before I was born. He talked to him, which my great-grandfather could not talk for several years before he died. And he could feel him. And they walked down the hall of the hospital where my dad was at. My dad saw himself in the hospital bed. Wow. So, you know, I'm open to the idea of spirits being around us all the time. But one thing I always do when I go to the cemetery is when I leave, I just make a statement. I'm leaving. I'll be back. You cannot come with me. You have to stay.
Yep.
The one time I didn't do that, I was in a hurry to get out of there and I forgot. I woke up to a shadow in my bedroom.
It followed you home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely say that every time too.
Yeah. So I had to go back. I had to go back that day, and I said, look, I understand that you wanted to follow me or something. I don't know, but you can't do it again, and you have to stay here this time. And I never saw it again. But yeah, I've had some interesting experiences. So
same here.
yeah. In fact, some of my most recent videos have been of a trip to Louisiana that I made with my mom, and we did some ancestral headstone cleaning and visited some graves down there. And while my grandparents live in Houston, or just outside of Houston, we went and stayed for like 3 nights with them. And while we were there, I was sleeping, or I was just getting ready for bed actually, and I lay on my stomach to sleep. And I had laid down and I put my face in the pillow, and I felt on my shoulder. And I thought, it's probably my mom or somebody coming in to say something to me, and I looked up, nobody was there. But in my mind, I could see, and I don't really understand this, but I could see an older gentleman that was reminiscent of John Wayne, cowboy hat, chaps, leather vest, and I instantly tasted cigarette smoke in my mouth. And I said, okay, whatever, I went to sleep, woke up the next day, and we left, went to Pineville and Tioga, Louisiana. And then we went and visited my aunt in Baton Rouge. And on the way over there, I told my mom, I said, I had an interesting experience last night. And I told her about it. And she said, yep, that's the Marlboro Man. And I said, what are you talking about? And she says, your Uncle Brent, from almost the day they moved into that house, because they lived in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and then they moved over to Houston when my grandpa got a job in Anahuac for Brown and Root. And she said, almost since the day they moved into that house, he has always talked about the Marlboro Man. And him and my grandma used to talk about it together because they both saw him. So,
wow.
Yeah, kind of interesting. But yeah, so I don't really know how I got off on that story, but
hey, you're talking to a paranormal group here, so
it was probably my fault. I'll take
It's
the blame.
Amy's
They were
fault.
interested.
Well, cemetery work and paranormal stuff and history, it all goes hand in hand,
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
That's what I was looking to see if we missed one.
That's what I was checking too. Some Black Dragon says the Gypsy Cemetery near me, I worked for 6 hours without a single incident, and it's rumored to be cursed.
Where's that at?
I don't know. It says it's near him, so I don't know where he's at, but
I know one of the most unique cemeteries I've ever been to, and it's pretty active, is have you ever heard of Mouth Cemetery?
No.
Yeah, that you would get a kick out of that place. I mean, it's a historic cemetery, but a lot of the headstones are pretty really old, and they don't take care of it the way they should. But
Yeah.
it's one of the most haunted locations in Michigan. I've been there a few times.
Yeah. Where's that at?
That's near Mesquite, like White Cloud area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So like
I have to go check it out. We're heading over that way this summer, so I think
we definitely got to meet up.
Yeah,
we definitely got to make that happen. I'd like to do the behind the scenes when you're doing your cleaning and stuff. Do behind the scenes thing.
Yeah, right.
Which is his way of saying he's going to stand there and watch you clean.
I'm gonna
So you go out and you do a lot of these headstones and stuff on a voluntary basis. Have you ever had anyone get upset or get mad at you for doing it? No, that's good.
No.
I mean, I don't know why they would, but
right.
No, you never know with people nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I've had where did I put that? Hang on. Right here. So last summer I got in touch with the Historical Society in Coleman, which is it's a little town that's kind of northwest of where I live. And they asked me if I could teach this little girl that was interested in learning. She's probably 12 or 13, 14 years old, something like that. She wanted to kind of learn how to do some of this stuff, just basic cleaning stuff. And I said, yeah, I said, if you guys get permission from the cemetery, I'll come out and do an all-day hands-on training class and just invite anybody that wants to come, So they put that together. They got permission from the cemetery and the township to do it. And I went out and I set my hoist up. They had one large stone that had been pushed over off of its base. So I set my hoist up and we put that back on and we did some cleaning. A lot of people from that area had ancestors that were there and they wanted to clean their ancestral headstones. So they went and did that. And then a lady asked me about bronze and I said, okay, I can show you guys. I got all my bronze stuff here. And I said, I'm not going to show you guys how to, strip it, paint it, that stuff, because that takes several days. That can take up to a week sometimes to do one. So I said, what I will do is I'll show you how well this wax works. And just walked around real quick and found 2 plaques that were starting to get that white haze to them. And I took a rag out and I dipped my rag in that wax and started wiping it on. And one of the plaques was like an uncle to one of the ladies that was there. And then the other one, she looked over, she goes, oh, I went to school with him. And I said, okay, well, this lady probably knows the family. I can probably get away with putting a little bit of wax on there. And a couple, 3 months later, I got a card in the mail.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's awesome.
Jesus. I should just leave this light on. There's a picture of me putting wax on it.
Oh, wow.
And
that's cool.
She had a bunch of her family members sign it, and this is all handmade.
That's awesome.
So, and another interesting story. I gotta turn this down because it's way too bright. That cemetery that I showed you the picture in the calendar. We worked all summer in that summer of 2020. Was it 20? Yeah, summer of 2020. And we reset I think 258 stones. We raised them, put gravel under them, graveled around them. We put a lot of them back together, multi-pieces that were all tipped over. Wow. There was a lot of vandalism back in the 70s through that cemetery, 70s and 80s. They didn't have a fence up around it, and it's on a hill, and all the headstones are straight in a row, people would take their dirt bikes and weave in between the headstones, and they'd every once in a while they'd knock one over and just leave it. Well, there's a guy buried in there. He was born in 1818 on a ship coming over from England, and both of his parents died on the ship.
Wow.
When he got here, he was orphaned. Somebody took him under their wing. I think it was an uncle or some sort of a relative of his. He fought in the American Civil War. He fought in the Spanish-American War. When he died, he had one bullet still in his body from the Civil War, and he had 2 other bullet wounds. And he had a saber slash across his face from the Spanish-American War. He died in 1914. He was it 1914? Yeah. So he's almost 100 years old. His headstone was probably about 5 foot tall. It's a 1 foot square, probably 4 foot on top of a base. It's a huge piece of stone, and it had been laying on its face for about, I don't know, 10 years, maybe a little more. So that whole project was completely volunteer. We didn't, the township bought gravel for us. They had some grant money that was set aside, and they supplied the tripod because I didn't have a hoist yet. They supplied the tripod for us to do all that stuff. And probably 6 months ago, so I over a year later, I got a letter in the mail from one of the descendants of John, and they were so happy that it was finally back up the way it was supposed to be, even though the finial on top was broken off and a lot of it's missing, so we can't really do anything with that unless I purchase a new finial. They were happy that it was back up, and they actually did donate some money to me for doing all of that, and that was pretty cool. So that project kind of went a little bit unnoticed by a lot of people in the immediate area because I made a lot of posts on Facebook about it and stuff. People are still finding out 2 years later that we did work in there. And I hear a lot of people, "Oh, you're the guy that did the work in Sanford. We were just over there." I'm like, "Oh yeah, we did that like almost 2 years ago." So
that's so great. They're recognizing you still.
Yeah.
Well,
but
yeah,
he deserves it though.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of hard work, and it wasn't just me. It was me and a buddy, and it was like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 older ladies that worked on cleaning a lot of the stuff, and we did all the heavy lifting and all the gravel and pulling foundations up, and now I'm going back and doing all the fine detail repairs, broken stones and stuff like that. So it's still an ongoing project. I think I'll probably have it all done this year. So
that's awesome.
I can't wait to see.
Okay, I have a question. On a lot of our family cemeteries, stones, they have pictures of them.
Oh yeah.
How's the best way to clean those?
The photos? If it was mine, and it depends on what kind of photo it is, because some of those are porcelain, and a lot of the porcelain ones don't really do well unless they're covered. A lot of those stones will have a flip cover on them. If it was me, I would get something like D2 biological solution, or I guess you could probably use wet and forget, and I would spray it on there, and I would not do anything else, because I think if you were to take a brush to it, if it was an older porcelain photo, it could possibly remove some of the photo, you know. The great thing about that type of stuff is that there are companies that will recreate those. So if you wanted that photo to look better, you could take a picture of it, take it to a monument company that makes those, and as long as you give them the dimensions of that piece, you could have a brand new one made that looks like it's brand new, and put that on there. And they make them in like a coated metal now. They're super durable, and they do pretty good.
Well, what I was wanting to know too is because one of our families the picture has came off of the stone.
What was it? Oh, the picture?
Yeah, so that's another thing. What's the best thing to use to attach it back on?
A good knife grade epoxy. I use an epoxy called Acapox. It's made by a company in Germany. The company's Akemi, Akemi. They make a really durable knife grade epoxy. Another thing you could probably find a knife grade epoxy at Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that, but you don't want to use liquid nails or anything like that. Anything in a tube, you don't really want it. You really need to use a good 2-part epoxy, and something that's not gonna yellow in the sun. That Acapox 5010 is what I use. It's clear. It comes out clear, comes out of the tube clear. You mix it up in 2 parts. It turns a little bit hazy white, but it cures clear. And if you leave it out in the sun, it will not yellow.
Okay. Thank you.
It's kind of expensive though. So
I'll let my dad know.
Yeah. You just a decent knife grade 2-part epoxy is all you really need for something like that.
Okay.
And it's important too, if you're in a cold weather area, that if you do end up putting something on the back of that and gluing it back to that headstone, we'll say glue for all intents and purposes. Don't use glue though. But if you end up putting that back on the stone, you need to make sure that you have a good coverage around the back, because some water will get back in there and freeze, and it will pop it, and then you'll end up having something. It'll be broken. So.
Okay.
Much love, Laura.
Love you, Laura.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a stomach bug going through our house right now too. My son, he was up throwing up last night, so.
We have that here too as well, so I guess it's going around all over the United States.
It's going everywhere. We've had
my youngest has it.
Yeah.
I will be right back. I need to get something to drink a minute.
I got a little bit of cold coffee left here.
Well, Rob left us with his cross.
Yep.
Oh. Yeah, so here's one that I did a repair on. And you can see it a little bit where it was repaired, it missing a big chunk here, and it was like wedge shaped. I got to do that. Yeah. Wedge shaped here. So I ended up, I found this bottom piece, and this was in Sanford Cemetery, the same one that we did all the work in. And we didn't know where the top piece was to it. And we just happened to be walking around one day and found the top piece. And I said, oh, I think I know where the bottom piece of that is. So I brought it home, and I actually started on this last summer and finished it a couple weeks ago, and I got to take it and put it back on. But that's a little more extensive there. It's kind of like, this other one that I got here. I don't know how this is going to fix up, because this has been laying on the ground for so long that this has started to sugar. So I'm going to have to probably remove some of this until I get it down to good stone where it's not grainy.
Yeah.
And then what I plan to do is I'm going to cut a piece of wood and shave it down until it fits in here and looks really nice. And then I've got latex molding rubber, and I'm gonna mix this, pour it, set that piece of wood in there, and then when that hardens up, I'm gonna pull the wood out and mix up some marble mortar to make a filler piece.
Nice.
And it should look pretty close to this blue marble color.
So have you ever taken a job and like it would be way too extensive, or there was no fixing it at all?
I never take anything that I don't think I can do. If somebody says, hey, come out and take a look at something, and I look at it and I'm like, man, I don't know if I can handle this, I'll just tell them flat out, I don't feel comfortable doing it.
Right.
I haven't come up against anything like that yet. I did have a job where somebody wanted me to put a stone back together that had fallen apart, and I just didn't have the equipment to do it yet. So I said, look, I'm going to build a hoist soon. So I can't do it right now, but I will. And I just put it on the back burner until I was able to get my hoist, But yeah, if I would much rather say that I can't handle it than try to do it and destroy it.
Right.
I mean, I have insurance for stuff like that, but I would rather not use my insurance.
Exactly. Yeah.
In fact, I've got a lady, when I'm all said and done over in Sanford, there's going to be one headstone there that will still be laying in pieces. It's her great-great-grandfather. He died in 1863. And the stone is in 4 pieces. There's one piece of it that has gotten very brittle and has a lot of micro fractures through it. So I told her, I said, if I was to repair this, I would probably repair it laying down. I would pour a concrete pad for it, let the concrete set up, and then I would piece it back together and set it on that concrete with mortar, with a hydraulic lime mortar, so that it's forgiving. It's not like you're gluing it to the concrete. It would be adhered to the concrete, but if somebody was to hit it with a mower or something, it would just break the mortar. Wouldn't damage the stone too bad. And I said, then I could do some infill work on it, because I don't think that we could ever get it standing back up. It would never support its own weight. And she said, okay, I'll think about it. I really want to do something with it, but let me think about it and I'll let you know. And that was 11 months ago.
All right.
So she's probably never going to let me do anything with it. It's probably just going to continue to deteriorate and be gone. Probably 20 years from now, nothing will be left of that stone but a pile of dust.
Wow.
Because she doesn't want to do anything with it. She's very apprehensive to let anybody touch it.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah. But what can you do? It's like I don't know. I would never let anybody anybody that I don't trust do anything to my ancestral headstones. I'd like to think that there's no reason that she shouldn't trust me, but some people have trust issues. So
Exactly.
But I think that my work speaks for itself. There's been some things that in the past have been done that look questionable, but I've got one video, the first video I ever uploaded to YouTube, where I had a flat white marble Vietnam veteran he was killed in action in Vietnam, and his headstone had tons of built up pine sap on it, and the pine sap was caked on like bird shit, and it was just harder than heck, and it was like cured resin almost. And I did a lot of research on how to remove pine sap, especially when it was hardened like that, and I'd found nothing other than just scraping it off. Well, scrape it off, have to pull on it a little bit, I wanted to soften it up. So I ended up using a propane torch, hand torch for like soldering pipes. And I just passively heated up that pine sap until it was soft and scraped it off with a block of wood. And I caught a lot of flack for that because I was applying heat to the headstone. And I try, people don't, you see it in a video, you don't understand really how careful I was with it. At the distance that I was holding that torch from the stone, I could have run it across my hand and never burnt my hand, But that's the dangers of posting stuff out there on social media for people to critique. I got a lot of blowback for that.
Yeah.
That happens.
The great thing is I don't care what people think about me at all. So
that's the only way to survive on here.
Yeah. Right.
Now, down the road, where do you see your company going? Would you like to expand it to other states or anything?
I don't think so. I think down the road, I see myself probably, I probably would end up opening a brick and mortar store, possibly like a showroom for people to come in and buy headstones, a supply store for historic restoration materials, and then going out and doing the work. Even I don't know if any of you know who Jonathan Appel is from Atlas Preservation. He goes out and does what he calls the 48 state tour, where he goes out and teaches people how to do this stuff, sells his products, things like that. I kind of see myself doing that type of stuff in the future. Am I ever going to get rich doing this? Probably not. It's a great hobby. Keeps me out of the bar. 5 years ago, I was an alcoholic. So, this is just something to keep me busy.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah. Probably 5-7 years ago, you probably would not have wanted to know who I was. I was a completely different person. So I tell people that a lot, and they're like, wow, really? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I was an ass. But
Well, it's a good thing your past doesn't define you, so you're doing good things now.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're definitely in a great group of people right here too. We're very supportive, and this is a great community right here.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Except for Rob, he's a brat most of the time.
Yeah. Don't listen to anything they say. It's all lies.
Right.
Never.
Always. So I got a question for you, and I ask this to everybody because we need to know: do you like Twinkies or Ho-Hos?
Oh my lord!
Oh.
Dear Lord, Roberta.
I'm more of a zinger fan.
Oh, good.
Zingers are good.
Good answer. Good
He's
answer.
a keeper. He's a keeper.
He's a keeper.
I don't.
Thank you, Patriot.
Patriot. Woo-woo.
I don't like. I mean, Twinkies aren't that bad, and Ho-Hos aren't that bad either. But I'm not a devil's food cake kind of person. I do like chocolate cake. I like the chocolate zingers. They're probably my favorite. And Twinkies are like, I like a dense cake, which zingers have dense cake. Whereas Ho-Hos and Twinkies don't. So
Rob, thought you was gonna get something, didn't you?
Dang it.
Rob doesn't explain the question before he asks it.
Yeah.
Me and my sister, who is the entity paranormal on here, we're called the Twinkies.
Oh, okay.
And so we tell everybody not to eat the Twinkies. So Rob is trying to get the whole entire world to eat Twinkies.
Yep.
I think something changed with Twinkies when they stopped making them for a long time, and then they started making. I don't think they make them the way they used to.
When they
You
revamped
lose, Rob. You lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what
But
you think.
when I go to the store and I'm looking for snack cakes, it's usually zingers or Swiss cake rolls.
Zingers are good. And I love Swiss rolls.
Zingers are amazing.
That's right, Patriot. I'm a hard worker.
Yeah, I'm more of a cookie guy, anyways. But
yeah, I was just in Seg not too long ago, and I did a video on the Wood Baron. I forgot his name now.
Oh, Burt Wellington or
yes, I did a
Wellington
video
Burt.
on him.
Yeah, that's an interesting story, isn't it?
Yeah, it was very interesting. Got quite a bit of views too.
Did you go to the I haven't seen it yet, but did you go to the Castle Museum?
No, I haven't.
Oh, dude, you got to. And they have an exhibit on him and his family. Yeah. And in fact, a friend of mine knows the people that live in his old house.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hi, Lucinda.
What's up?
Yeah. I think it was 2014 or 2015 or something like that. His will was finally settled. And
yeah.
That takes somebody must have done something really egregious to him for him to say, I'm not, my money will not be paid out until my last grandchild is dead.
Yeah, that
I don't know.
Wow.
Pretty amazing.
And then didn't a 19-year-old end up getting millions, and then another person got millions?
Yeah.
Wow.
They made out.
Yeah.
When that story came out, I wonder how many of those people knew that was the situation. Like how many of them were like, oh man, as soon as Uncle Bob dies, we're going to be rich,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't wait till Uncle Bob dies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's probably my mic again, y'all.
Yeah, that's Amy's mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do that story. Somebody told me about it, but then I also seen it in a Weird Michigan book or something like that, and
Yeah.
got to get out there. And I was glad I was able to do that video, and it still gets views every once in a while and stuff. But that was unusual.
Right.
I've never heard anything about like that before.
Yeah, right. That guy was filthy rich too. Filthy. I mean, I in today's money, I don't know if Bill Gates would touch it. You know.
No. He has a town named after him too.
Yeah. Right. Yep. And so it's funny you brought that up because I was talking to somebody about this today. My buddy messaged me, I don't know, about 7:00. Said, "Hey, I was thinking about you today because I do a lot of metal detecting, and I go out and look for old homesteads. I mostly like to do the 1800s stuff, but I'll hit an early 1900s place if I got a good feeling about it. But when Wixom Lake cleared out, there's some old foundations and stuff that are showing up now. And he says, have you ever been out on the lake bed and done any metal detecting? And I said, well, there's a place out in Sanford Lake that was called Wright's Bridge. And I've really wanted to go there and metal detect. And he's like, where's that at? And so I had to look up on the map exactly where it was and stuff. And I was doing some Googling on that, and a very similar situation to Burt, Michigan. This guy was, I think he started the Tittabawassee Boom Company or whatever. I got a book on it. Yeah, the Tittabawassee River Boom Company. He started that, and that was a big operation, and he made a ton of money, and he started this little settlement. And when Herbert Dow came to Midland to start the Dow Chemical Company, it was this Amy Wright that funded a lot of his startup. They built the first operations here in Midland with $25,000 in 1898. So it was a lot of money back in 1898. And it was this Wright, Amy Wright, and he had Wright's Bridge was a little town that was named after him. And then when Frank Wixom built the dams and flooded all the rivers, Wright's Bridge got flooded. So it's the entirety of Wright's Bridge, ghost town now, has been underwater since 1922.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's what I need to get in. Well, I did start doing magnet fishing and stuff, but I lost my magnet the first time because I didn't glue it.
Oh.
And another one, I have not had time to go magnet fishing, but that would be an interesting place to do that at. Actually,
there's a place in Averill, which is between Midland and Sanford, and they called it the Red Keg Log Landing, and it was the largest log landing in North America at one time or something like that. And it had like 14 million board feet of logs go through there. And it's on the banks of the Tittabawassee River, and the railroad would come up along there and offload logs, and they'd stack them up there all winter long. And then when the spring thaw came and the rivers flooded, they had what they called a keyway log or something. There was a key log or something like that, and there was a guy that would go out there with a sledgehammer, and he'd knock that log out of there, and then he'd take off running because all those logs would come barreling down that that would be an interesting place to go, is right in front of that rollway to do some magnet fishing. And I have a magnet. I have a Brute Magnetics magnet that I played around with it a little bit, but everything's junk. Everything around here is junk. I have some. I want to show you this.
Is it still making the noise?
No.
Okay, good. Maybe I fixed it. Welcome back, John.
I've got a whole display actually. I'll show you.
I like your shirt, Rob.
Right there, I got a
Me
display
too.
of some of my metal detecting stuff, but so this right here, that's a rafting pin from logging. This would have had a chain through it, probably about a foot long, and then they would have another one of these on the other end, and they would drive it into the logs on the end, and they'd drive the other end into the log, and they'd keep on doing that, and they'd form a raft, and they would float the logs down the river in a raft like that, all the way to Saginaw. So that's 1870s probably.
Wow.
And then I've got an ox shoe. I've found 2 of these now, or actually 3. I've got another one out in my garage. That's probably 1880s, 1890s, something like that. And then this is the oldest and I think coolest thing I've ever found.
Oh, wow.
This is and it's kind of flaking a little bit, but it's what they call a Biscay fur trade axe.
Nice.
It was forged in France, the Biscay region of France. Was brought over on a ship, probably between 1680 and 1720, and it was traded to the Native Americans for beaver pelts.
Wow.
You could buy one of these for 2 pounds in France. You could bring it over here. The natives really liked them because they were easy for throwing and they were light. The Europeans hated them. They didn't like these axes. That's why they went to an axe more like this, because it's heavy. You can swing it hard, and it does a lot of cutting. But the natives here really liked these because they were like a multi-tool kind of. So you could buy this for 2 pounds in France. You could trade it for a beaver pelt, and you could take that beaver pelt back to France and sell it for 10 pounds.
Wow.
So they would buy these 20 at a time, bring them over here, trade them for 20 beaver pelts, and then go back to France and sell those beaver pelts for 8 pounds a piece more than what they paid for this axe.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Smart people.
This has got a maker's mark on it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. Maybe you can see it kind of right there.
Yeah.
Looks a little bit like a Star of Bethlehem. I had an expert verify that this is definitely pre-1700 or very, very early 1700s.
Wow.
And this is what's called it's a 1 pound axe. So if this was a 2 pound axe, it would have 2 of those marks on it. And if it was a 3 pound axe, it would have 3.
Did he tell you how much it would be worth?
They're not wildly expensive because they made so many of them. So
right.
It's possible that there could be 500 or 600 of these that were made by this specific maker with this specific maker mark, and there was probably 100 to 200 people making them at the time because they could make. It doesn't take very much money to take a piece of iron, heat it up, and beat it out. If you can do 4 or 5 of these in a day, if you get good at it, and you can make 10 pounds in a day, you're just gonna make as many of them as you can. Yeah. So he didn't tell me how much it would be worth, but it's got a lot more historic value than cash value to me. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I got a whole bunch of stuff. This is a Civil War button that I found. out in the woods here at a log camp.
Oh,
Somebody probably was wearing their jacket that they wore to battle out while they were working. And just all kinds of stuff, man. I love history.
Cool.
I love history.
Yeah. It's I think it's 1,000 times better when you can relate to it, you know. I absolutely hated American history and in school because I hated having to memorize the Second Amendment and memorize the First Amendment and memorize all the, you know, I hated that. But now that I'm an adult, I read stories about my third great grandfather in the newspaper on the library webpage. And I go out to where he used to live and I find things that may or may not have been his at one time, you know, and that type of history that I can connect to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is what I really enjoy.
And when you were in school, you were made to do it.
Right. Exactly.
And now you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do.
Yeah. Well, at least they tried to make me do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that's kind of what started this whole journey, you know, is learning more about my family history and about how we ended up here and being able, you know, you ask the average everyday person in town here if they thought they could go out and find an ox shoe from the 1880s in a farm field. They're going to say no way. I found three. I have found 3 of them, and these are pretty rare around here. You know, I have things that people would never even dream they could go out and find in the woods. You know, I got a Clydesdale shoe.
Oh,
that
wow.
Still has all the nails in it.
Dang.
You know,
that's cool.
all but one anyways. But yeah, so, and I know for a fact that this Clydesdale shoe is pre 1885.
Wow.
So,
It's huge.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I wear a size 13 ring. My hand's not small.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a big shoe.
About like you have, Rob.
Yeah.
I wear a size 13 ring also. But
oh, do you?
yeah.
Yeah.
I got big hands, big feet.
Yeah. You probably wear big gloves too, don't you?
My gigantic hands.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh Lord.
Mm-hmm. On that note.
In the way. Good night, John.
Hey, John.
Hi, John. Love and hugs.
Yeah. So, anyways,
It was an awesome interview. Man, I've been binge watching your videos when I can.
Yeah.
oh, good.
I get everybody in the group to watch them. And they're all loving and stuff too.
I'm glad you introduced him to us, and we've been putting his link in the chat, guys. So make sure you have grabbed him up.
Yeah.
You're really going to be impressed with his channel.
Yes.
I'm hoping to have. So last year was really my first year of getting out and creating content. And it was also a year where I experienced a lot of growth in my abilities and stuff like that. So this year is going to be amazing.
That's gonna be cool. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's I'm excited about it because, and especially now that my son's a little bit older and he's able to do a little bit more without too much interference.
Right.
it's going to be fun this year. So. Yep.
Yeah, once the weather gets better, I'll be up your way, and I'll have to message you. And we definitely got to meet up.
Oh yeah. The only problem is I work swing shift at the plant, so my schedule is really kind of wonky. But if you let me know a couple days ahead of time, we can.
Oh yeah.
We can work something out.
Yeah, usually I get my days. I go out or on Wednesday. I get like 1 day a week to do my videos and stuff like that because I'm so busy.
Yep. Yeah, I usually the way it works for me is I end up working a bunch of overtime. So I'll have like 3 or 4 videos on my SD cards or on my external hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
And one weekend I'll just sit down and edit for like 6 hours.
Yep. That's
so,
what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
This last video I just did took me 2 days to do it. So
yeah, right. My wife's cousin, he was working at a bank in Hemlock or Breckenridge, somewhere over there. And him and his buddies started up a YouTube channel, and they grew so big so fast that he quit his job at the bank because they make more money doing YouTube than they do working their jobs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And their channel is Bourbon Junkies, if you're into whiskey and bourbon. And they basically just sit around and get drunk and bullshit and smoke cigars and make a ton of money.
Sounds like my kind of channel. I'm going to check them out.
Yeah, check them out. It's funny. Some of their stuff is just comical, and it's entertaining to watch. So
that's the kind of channels I like.
Yeah. Yep. So
that's why I call my channel Variety Channel, because I do a variety of everything. I'm into the history. I'm into the paranormal, like roadside attractions, travel, all kinds of stuff.
Right. I used to have a metal detecting channel where I did some metal detecting videos, and that community is so hard to do well in, and there's so many people out there that just are they want to call you out with everything, you know what I mean? So and it was really hard to grow, and I was spending a lot of time carrying extra equipment out into the woods and doing all the editing and stuff like that. I wasn't getting very many views. I tried to make my videos better, and people were like, "Oh yeah, I see you're taking ideas from so and so." I'm like, you know what? So I quit doing it. But this channel, I had a video. I uploaded it last August. It had like 600 views from August all the way to December. And I started taking off, and the month of January, it got 3.4 million views. It was a short, but I also gained 2,800 subscribers from that one video.
Right.
You know? So
Bourbon Junkies link.
Bourbon Junkies link.
I just put it in there.
Oh, I thought you were asking for it. I was gonna get it, but yeah. So it's been an experience. It's been a fun ride. I'm kind of glad that I did that metal detecting video or that metal detecting channel for a little while, because I learned how to edit. It kind of helps you feel out YouTube and get to see a lot of different, especially if you're watching other channels, you get to see a lot of different styles and kind of learn where you want to be. You know, so that was cool. And I think this channel is going to stick. I don't think I'm going to be shutting this one down for a while. So,
yeah, I think you're going to do really well with that channel.
I hope so. We'll see. You know, January was the month where I got all the subscribers and grew so big, but my watch time is suffering still because I'm not putting out regular content, you know. The stuff I am putting out is re-editing old videos just so I have some traffic, you know.
That's what I do too. Sometimes, like another thing, if Facebook groups, I'm a part of a lot of those, and I'll reshare videos I did a long time ago, and they'll get tons of views.
Right.
And some of them you gotta be careful, because one video I did, I messed the actor's name up, and I got all kinds of flack.
That's how I found you. That was the post. That's right. Yeah. Because, you know, people are just assholes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what? You screwed up Burt Reynolds' name. Who gives two shits?
But who cares? Look, I got over 3,000 views from messing up his name. So.
Right.
You know they still know who you were talking about. They just gotta be able to
I mean, it's not like you said it was Burt Reynolds and put up George Jones's photo. You know? It's like, you know, oh my God, I misspelled his name. Whatever, you know. But yeah, I think people are just assholes.
I didn't expect that to happen. I just put it up, and I thought, you know, it was a great video, and I did a good job, and I wanted people to see it. I didn't expect that to happen, and everybody viewed it. I got over 3,000 views on it now.
They always gotta find something to nitpick about.
Oh yeah. You'll even if you hadn't made that mistake, somebody would have found something stupid to say. Oh, you know, whatever.
Oh, yeah, they did. Some people watched it and left comments that, no, Burt Reynolds never grew up in Lansing. He grew up in Florida. And I'm like, there's an article. He came back to Lansing, and he said in his memoir that he was born in Lansing. Like, what?
There was literally a girl that commented on that post that said, my grandpa remembers him, or went to school with him for a year or something like that, and she lived in Lansing.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, north of town here, not far from where I grew up, there was a place, and I forget what it was called exactly. I can't remember. It's off the end of a dirt road. I mean, and I grew up 14 miles north of city limits. You know, we were out in the boonies, right? But back in the 70s, this place off the end of a dirt road, it was just a little shack. There was 2 farmhouses within a half mile of it. Was a very popular spot and would attract anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 people a weekend, because Johnny Paycheck, George Jones, Loretta Lynn, you know, all those people would come up there, and I think it was called like Country Jamboree or something like that. Mm-hmm. And on the weekends during the summer, they would have people come up and play music. And I mean, big names that I never would have thought would be in Mills Township, Midland County, Michigan.
That would be pretty cool to go back in and do, you know, a story on it or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In fact, the people that own it now are really nice people. I think it would be awesome to go out there and metal detect.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You don't know what you would find. And I don't know too many people that I know people that probably know that happened there, but not too many people will remember it. You know,
right?
You know, anybody 70, 60 or older probably remembers it well, but who would even think about it nowadays? You know, that was a long time ago, 50 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. So
they used to televise that too, didn't they?
What was that?
Did they used to televise that?
I think so. I think it was
televised. I can remember my parents watching it.
Yeah. Well, you might be remember. How old are you? Not that
I'll be 52 next year. Next month.
So, well,
my parents, trust me, that's all they ever listen to.
You might be remembering the Louisiana Hayride, because that was televised.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think, I can't remember who hosted that, but they would have Johnny Horton and George Jones on there a lot. My grandpa,
I think Elvis was on there too.
Yeah, yep, Elvis was on there. Marty Robbins, a lot of those old names. Farron Young was on there. In fact, my grandpa grew up. He lived in Greenwell Springs, north of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and him and my grandmother would go almost every weekend. He said to Louisiana Hayride, and it was always in different cities around Louisiana. And he said he remembers the time that they were going to go see Farron Young, and Farron Young committed suicide.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Johnny Paycheck filled in for him, which Johnny Paycheck was known later in his career for showing up to go to do a show and then not going to the show because he partied too hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And George Jones was known for that too. That's why they called him No Show.
Yeah.
And my
What
grandpa
time
said,
Johnny Paycheck wasn't in prison?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was quite a few of them. Gary
Yeah.
Stewart, all them that they didn't show up a lot.
But he told me one time, he said that it was very rare for George Jones to be in Louisiana doing a concert and he didn't go to it. So they went to George Jones just about everywhere he went, as long as he was close enough to drive to. He said he remembers one time they bought tickets to go see George Jones, and they got there and they waited and they waited and they waited. And they finally said, "Look, everybody, sorry, he's not here. We don't know what's going on. See you later," right? So it was my grandma and grandpa and I think two other couples that had gone together. And they said, "Well, shit, he didn't show up. What are we going to do? Let's go down here to this honky tonk and we'll sit and have some beers and get some food or whatever." So they walked in there. He says, "We sat down at the table and looked over, and I'll be damned if George Jones wasn't over at the corner table drinking a beer." So yeah, it's kind of funny to hear those stories, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, a buddy of mine, he said George Jones again was at that country jamboree, and he had come up like 2 days before and was staying at a farmhouse down the road from where the shindig was supposed to happen. And they went out the night before the concert, and he just got shit-faced. I mean, plastered. Couldn't walk straight. I mean, somebody had to help him walk.
Wow.
And he woke up the next morning. He was so hungover that he was just like, he wasn't going to show up for the concert, you know. And the old lady that owned the farmhouse that he was staying in says, "No, you ain't going to do that shit here." She made a pot of coffee, and he said it was almost like she went over there to him, held his jaw open, and just poured the coffee right out of the pot down his throat. Sobered him up enough for him to go and play. So, but yeah, that's, I mean, if you guys knew where I was talking about, I mean, this place is surrounded by swamp. There's a dead end dirt road that goes into it. It's, I think even now there's only 5 houses in a half mile on that road. You know, it's way out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But it was the most hoppinest place back in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
What was it called again?
I think it was called Country Jamboree, but I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly.
Well, Rob, I hate to do this to you, but I've got to get off here because I have to be up very early in the morning.
Yeah, I gotta get off too. I gotta go to work in the morning myself.
I would stay here even longer because it's been very interesting and I've enjoyed the interview very much.
I got lots of stories to tell, so we can do another one.
We will.
Well,
You're welcome up.
it was very, very good to meet you not in person, but in person. But yeah, we'd all love to hear more of your stories.
Oh yeah, I got lots of them. So it was good to meet you too.
And guys, make sure you grab him up. Anyone watching back, the link is in the chat. So grab it.
This was an amazing interview and amazing to make a new friend. So
yeah,
always.
Yeah, anytime anybody's up in this area, just my email is in most, if not all, of my descriptions on my videos. Shoot me an email if you want to stop by or whatever. I don't drink beer anymore, so I won't. You can't have a beer, but
right.
I'll make a pot of coffee.
There we go.
Coffee's just as good most of the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Good night, everybody.
And we'll see you tomorrow. Oh, and I'm going to be on the regular time tomorrow. So I don't have to be late tomorrow.
Cool.
Sweet.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
We're definitely going to do this again.
Yes.
We will.
All right. Night, everybody.
Night, everyone. Love y'all. See you tomorrow.
See ya.